Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-host,
Beth?
And Brian.
So we have a full episode of news and rumors and lots of things that are happening. This is very bizarre coming off of our little break of not having much news. So I guess let's just dive into this. I have to give another shout out to Beth. Thank you for organizing our show notes this week because I feel like I have a lot in here to work with.
Oh, yeah. I just kind of wanted us to talk about all of the things that some of which we've talked about privately, but I thought maybe we just give a nice news roundup to anybody who maybe hasn't been keeping up the last couple weeks or so. And some of it's relatively new within the past few days. So just kind of a big old, here's what's been going on.
Cool. So let's dive in at the start of this. The first thing we have on here is that the Avatar sequels have resumed filming.
Yes. There was a behind the scenes picture from John Landau confirming this. So said that James Cameron says his focus right now is on finishing Avatar 2 and 3 before delving too much into 4 and 5, which probably a good idea. But
they're still also aiming for that December release window.
Yeah, December 17th, 2021, over a decade after the first Avatar film.
That's wild.
Goodness.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that it'll tie more into what Pandora at Animal Kingdom, that situation is. It's always fun to have more backstory on real park elements.
Well, and like we said before, I feel like Pandora really made me care about Avatar when Avatar didn't make me care about Avatar.
Well, I mean, Avatar used a pretty, I feel like, reused basic plot outline that's been seen time and time again. But, it was about the visuals. I think being able to see it in real life in Pandora was what really made it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You mean you don't like Pocahontas in space?
Or Ferngully, or...
So moving on with the general Disney news, not necessarily parks related, we got word that a female-led Pirates of the Caribbean movie is in the works, which Margot Robbie is supposed to star, and she's going to be working with Birds of Prey writer Christina Hodson.
Interesting.
I'm really excited for this. Like, I know there was the rumor about a female-led Pirates movie or them rebooting the Pirates franchise, and I was like really all for that because I think we kind of exhausted the Pirates franchise a little bit, and this should hopefully breathe some new life into it.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm confused that the second part of this is that another Pirates film is currently in the works that, from what I understand, is going to relate to the original franchise. There are two Pirates movies in the works currently, is basically what I gathered. One is the female-led one, and one is not the same, I don't know, universe, but is the same universe.
So same universe, but it doesn't tie into the plot lines of the other ones, I'm assuming.
So a reboot.
I guess. Yeah, John says first is a reboot, second is the female one. So is the female one not the reboot?
Are
they both reboots? Are we getting two reboots?
How many boots are there?
Well, okay, so it seems like the Margot Robbie one is probably in the same universe.
One for each foot, two boots.
And then the other one is a reboot, maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll see when it comes out. Either way, I like the Pirates movies. I was kind of getting a little burnt on them, but I think it's fine. I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, I think the plots have gotten kind of ridiculous, but they're a lot of fun, so I always enjoyed them.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've seen the last one.
it was fine.
Yeah.
I also put a link in here to the box office performance for the different movies in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. It's interesting to note that in most cases, the box office income and the review scores decrease as the movies go on.
Yeah.
I feel like that
that's
happens with a
most
lot of
series. Yeah.
I wouldn't say, I mean, maybe most series, but obviously the outlier is Marvel. They just keep making more and more money and as they go on, you know?
But I think Marvel had the benefit of like they had an overarching story they wanted to accomplish. So everybody kept watching to see where it was going to go. I feel like Pirates probably tried to do that, but the overarching story was just like, look at how silly of a pirate Jack Sparrow is.
That's pretty much the story of the franchise.
He runs funny.
Yeah. He's drunk.
How long? Well, not how long. What are the odds that we see Red in the Margot Robbie series?
Very high, I think.
I was about to say, I think it would be a very overlooked if they don't, or not overlooked, but very remiss to not include at least a reference to Red.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think makes sense too. If you're doing an all-female, or at least mainly female-led Pirates movie, and kind of the whole controversy, and then, you know, the update that Disney did with Red on the ride, yeah, I think this is your perfect chance to kind of show her in that new light.
Yeah.
So John noted in the chat that Karen Gillian, I don't know how her last name is pronounced, was in talks to play Red. Jillian? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, he said Jay.
Okay. So supposedly I just did a little quick Google and it is rumored. So we'll see, huh?
Nebula is Red.
But moving right along, there was an episode of Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, which is this a Disney Plus series that I didn't know about?
It
Disney
is.
Gallery?
They're doing this whole thing where they're like doing behind the scenes of things. They just put out the Frozen one that was talked about forever ago. But the Mandalorian one came out before that. I think this was weekly, like another weekly release that they did.
Okay.
I haven't watched this yet, but this has been on my like to watch list. Unfortunately, you guys made me watch Artemis Fowl before I watched this one.
Yeah, can't ever get that time back. But the latest episode, like Mario said, is The Mandalorian, and Dave Filoni tells a story about where they got the X-Wing that was used to film sequences in it, which I thought was really interesting because basically what it says is that they kind of hijacked it before it got to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios. And so the one that you see there is the one that was used in The Mandalorian.
It's funny to me that, you know, stuff like this kind of still happens. Like, I know the thing we always talked about was like how it was cool that the front half of the Casanova plane, you know, is like you see the back half on the Jungle Cruise, and little stuff like that like gets reused, or, you know, it looks like Disney's kind of like cutting corners or something like this. Like, yeah, they clearly had enough money where they could have just made two separate ones, but it's very interesting that it ended up being the same one.
Yeah, but I think it kind of adds some coolness because, like, this is the one that we took a picture in front of, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that connection now. It's funny that at the time I didn't know, but now knowing it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and that's a real movie prop.
I feel like that's going to end up being one of those things where like we talk about that as like, oh, look at this fun little thing that's in Hollywood Studios now. now that we know about it.
Yeah. It makes me want to go back and watch The Mandalorian so that I can like pick it out.
Mm-hmm.
So are we ready to move on to park stuff now that we've covered some movies?
I'm ready.
I was gonna say I'll take your silence as yes.
Oh, did you not hear mine? I said yes.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Dang Discord. So the first thing that we have on here is that the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation has announced a statewide ban on on-premise alcohol at any establishment that makes more than 50% of its income from the sale of alcohol.
That's confusing.
It is very confusing.
I don't understand why though, because they just don't want people getting drunk on like randomly at a bar. Like you can still go to a restaurant. From what I read, you can still go to a restaurant and order alcohol and drink it. You just can't you can't get alcohol from a place that their main source of income is from alcohol, aka Trader Sam's.
Well, okay. So here's my thing. I don't know if Al made a comment in our chat and we can read that in a second, but my first thought when I read this was I feel like people are more likely to hang around at bars, and like that's not what places are intended to be right now. Like obviously you're going to hang around at a restaurant too, but like if you're going to a bar, you're specifically going to drink and sit around versus a restaurant where it's like eat and then leave.
Yeah, and also you have to eat. You don't have to drink alcohol. So I can understand that.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but like Al said, it's a way to shut down bars without having to pay unemployment, which that's real shady. Like, why would they not have to pay unemployment though if it's shut down?
Is it because it's an emergency order?
Probably.
To me, that would seem that you would still have to. Oh, it's because it's not shut down? Confusing.
So while he's typing that out, it was weird. I saw a lot of
politics.
I saw a lot of people like posting about this when it was happening, that like apparently as the order was signed, Jock Lindsay's just shut down and they had to kick everyone out. Like I saw a lot of weird things like that happening from Disney Springs.
Well, I mean, I guess it is an emergency order, but it's crazy that it's like, oh yeah, we signed this and it goes into effect immediately.
Right. That's the thing that like it is just bizarre.
So technically, well, no, I think the order also said, so from what I'm reading, Al said it's not shut down. It's just that they can't have people drinking alcohol. Basically, bars aren't forced to close. They can sell to-go stuff, but it's not a shutdown, so the unemployment is different.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, that definitely does make more sense. Shady politics, that's correct.
It also kind of feels like what I was saying too, like they don't want people to hang around places. And I feel like bars are just kind of a place for stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference of sitting in and having a drink in Jock Lindsay's versus sitting and eating food in Jock Lindsay's? Like, as the distancing is the same.
I think they're just trying to minimize the
drunken
amount.
people.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's just they're just trying to eliminate the amount of areas that there are for people to just sit down. I mean, like you can't close down the restaurants because people are going to have to eat while they're there. So if they can take away other places where people kind of congregate to and sit for long periods of time, the bar is like the next one. So that kind of makes sense to me.
But not only what Al said, but it says in the order I just read, any establishment that makes more than 50% of its income from the sale of alcohol will be forced to close its doors.
Well, I think that's just them trying to differentiate restaurants from bars.
But that's
so it's not like you can go into, like, it's not like Jock Lindsay's can open and you can go and eat food and you just can't drink. It's just that they can't be open.
Well, so that's to tie it into the next thing you have in here is that Jock Lindsay's closed because of this, which closed down for the time being. It's not a permanent thing. It says, as you're probably aware, the whole thing about the statewide sales tax, on-premise consumption of bars or businesses that derive more than 50% of gross revenue from sale of alcohol beverages now banned from Florida, and the emergency order went into effect immediately, which is apparently what Jock Lindsay's does, because the majority of their sales comes from drinks rather than food.
But then this puts a kink in the whole grab and go theory, because Dockside Margaritas had to close as well, which they don't serve food and they're not connected to a restaurant. And they were forced to close because even though it's a grab and go pretty much,
I don't know.
It's just not allowed. And none of the pop-up bars that you see, like the kiosks that just hang around in front of, around Disney Springs, they have all been forced to close as well. So it definitely has something to do with the fact that they don't want people drinking.
Yeah. I don't know. Florida's doing a lot of weird things right now. let's just say that.
I think things are going so bad here that they're just grasping at straws to do anything they can now.
Yeah. I mean, you could. I think they did pass the mandate on masks, though, didn't they?
They did in select counties so far. It's not statewide.
Okay. So, let's not do it statewide. Let's just make all of the bars close.
Yeah, so it's Orange County. I forget some of the more populated counties for sure, but
what about where you live? It does not?
No, mine is not mandated yet.
It's funny. And it's not mandated in South Carolina as a state either, but in my city it is, because it's the capital.
New Jersey has a state mandate that you're supposed to wear masks.
The northern states are doing a lot more right than the southern states, Mario. We get it. Speaking of which, according to social media posts, a T-Rex employee has tested positive for COVID-19, and despite this, the restaurant remains open. And by everything that I've read, the company was absolutely not intending to disclose this information and just trying to sweep this under the rug as hard as they could.
When all this hit social media, they were like, damn, we almost got away with it.
And who also told me about this before the news even broke, because he works at Disney Springs and knows people that know the person, that the person that tested positive worked for a week without telling anyone in a direct contact role, and management hid it.
This is just bad all around.
Yeah. That's just bad practice, man. Luckily, he hasn't had to work because still closed. So, he says, I have new. He has new news.
Oh, goodness.
Got some insider info here, you guys. I'm glad we decided to do this live.
I know, look at this. Breaking news.
Somebody contact.
What are we Disney food blog now? The breaking headlines.
Stormtroopers. The ones they have at Springs. Do you want to just come on here, voice chat?
The anticipation is killing
Please,
me.
Let's unmute him.
I can unmute him.
All right, tell us.
Now.
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, this is great. I'm so happy to be here. Hello, Mario, Brian. Kirsten isn't here. So I started a new
do I not get a hello?
We know each other. We talk almost every day. So anyways, I know you guys so well because I started a fitness regime as of quarantine, and I started listening to the podcast. And so I know you guys so well, and it makes me so happy to finally actually be able to talk to you guys. Anyways, so I'm in direct contact because I'm friends with someone who is friends with a stormtrooper and many other characters and such. So I found out today that there was they brought the stormtroopers into Springs for whatever reason. It's kind of weird, but whatever. Brought them in, and I found out today that there was a stormtrooper. I don't know the name of the person, not that I would say it, but he came in, he was doing his thing for the past week, and he actually tested positive and didn't tell anybody. at all during the time that he was positive, obviously. And that also obviously flows over to the T-Rex thing because I work at another restaurant at Disney Springs that I'm not going to name for, I don't know. I guess we
All right,
already kind of know where I live.
Don't worry.
Mario's
I'll bleep
gonna
a lot of this out.
edit the personal
Okay.
identification in
Yeah,
post.
that's fine. Yeah, so the person at T-Rex was a kitchen manager and didn't tell anyone himself either for an entire week. When he
Jeez.
was there. So it's the same situation. Like this person that was a character performer that was friends with a stormtrooper at Disney Springs, also didn't tell anyone for an entire week. So that's, I guess if you're well, I guess I don't know like exactly what they're doing there. The pictures that I've seen of the stormtroopers at Disney Springs have been them up on higher areas, like balcony areas, kind of looking over guests and stuff, so they don't come that close to guests. If they did, I guess they also have their masks cover them. But when you're backstage, it's a whole different situation. I've been following a ton of cast members, performer entertainment cast members on Twitter that have been expressing severe disappointment with their fellow entertainers that are not following protocols in any way whatsoever. And it stresses them out a whole lot going to work, especially knowing how high the cases are, which if you've seen the news at all, they almost doubled like overnight in between yesterday and today. So anyways,
this is very worrying.
that is my information. You guys are welcome to go ahead and mute me again. Go ahead and talk about it, please. I'm just sharing my own personal information that I am in contact with. It's scary. It's very scary, honestly. So,
Yeah.
truly. So go ahead and mute me again and you can do your editing. Go ahead and get back to it. You guys do your whole thing. Go ahead. Do it.
All right, I'm gonna mute him now. That's whew.
Wow.
Well, thank you for that info. That is
Breaking news.
I don't want to go to Disney anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh.
my trip's not till the end of November, so hopefully things will be better by then. But that's still very scary that it's just, I don't know, it's like traveling so fast and none of the government seems to be doing anything about it in Florida or many other states, specifically the South, but others as well. Not that Florida counts as the South anyway.
Oh my gosh.
We're the advanced South.
The word you're looking for is federally, John says. Yes, that's correct.
Oh, so let's see, where were we at with these? Disney buses. I think that was the next thing that we have on here. There was a couple rumors going around on the internet about how Disney buses are going to be working during the whole reopening. They are talking about dividing buses into zones. From what I've heard, it sounds like one group per zone. I think they said about.
So if you have a group, if you're by yourself, you're a group, or if you have 6 people, you're a group, right? Is basically what it's saying.
Yeah. The other thing that I heard on here was that the scooters are only going to be like one per bus, which is going to be fun. Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Right, which I think Brian was the one that when we talked about this in our chat, that car rentals are going to be going way up because of that, probably.
Hockety Pockety says her boyfriend is a Disney bus driver. He's terrified of the news. That is, yeah.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if they're going to make all the bus drivers work, at least that they can have everybody enter from the back door, not the front door, and then maybe they could put up some sort of barricade.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, yeah, the bus drivers do not need to be anywhere around people, like, to interact with them. If they could do that, they really need to.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, but from what I saw, it's going to be interesting, and I think part of me is worried because like you're going to have people waiting at those switchbacks for the resorts anyway. Like the lines already get pretty long there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It just seems very weird.
Yeah.
So then let's see what else do we have on here.
So yeah, moving right along, we found out that pin trading is back. It's going to return with modifications that cast members are not going to have lanyards anymore in order to be able to encourage social distancing, but instead will rely on pin boards, shields, swords, all of those cork board shapes that they have around the resort. Yeah, exactly.
Strollers.
And the way that the process is going to work is that guests will point to the pin that they want. The pin is going to be wiped down before they hand it to them. And then the guest will take their pin that they're trading and put it on some sort of countertop or surface rather than handing it directly to the cast member. And then the cast member will wipe off that pin before adding it back to the board. So this seems like pin trading is going to take a lot longer.
Yeah.
But
and obviously as somebody that pin trades, I'm very happy that they're doing it. And I'm also very happy that Disney is not letting pin trading die. It does warm my heart because this is something that would be very easy for them to rationalize and just say, we're going to cut out pin trading.
Yeah.
But they are taking the steps to do this. And even though, yes, this process is going to take longer, be a little bit more complicated, they're willing to put in the effort to keep pin trading alive. So that makes me a happy camper.
Yeah. And I don't know. Like you said, this would be an easy way for them to kill pin trading, which we've kind of talked about before. Like if they really wanted to, Disney's in a position where they could kill off pin trading, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just glad that they're still going about it. I don't know how long I can see this lasting though.
Yeah, I mean, you're already going to have such reduced crowds for a while that I'm not sure how many people are really going to care about pin trading right now. But fingers crossed that enough people will do it to have them want to keep it alive.
well, hardcore pin traders, this might be the best time.
That's a good
Because
point.
that's because it's going to be less demand and less capacity. And the people who are there, like you said, are probably not. That's not going to be their priority. So you
Yeah.
might find some good, nice little rare ones on there. But speaking of changes to services that we know well, there are also going to be changes to PhotoPass. The main one of which being PhotoPass photographers will no longer be able to take photos with guests' personal devices like a camera or a cell phone. So the value of Memory Maker just increased a lot.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that this didn't happen earlier. Like, I'm very glad that Disney will do it with your own phone before this happened, obviously. Because it's nice, because obviously, like, it would be a huge incentive for them to say, sorry, we can only take pictures with our camera, you buy PhotoPass. But that they'll do it for you is really cool. But yeah, obviously, this is going on the chopping block, and I don't think it would take much convincing for Disney to kill this.
Well, this was the kind of the inverse of the pin trading thing that I felt like. This was something that Disney did kind of as a courtesy because, like, I feel like while you're in line with a character and you're doing the meet and greet and then you get up and, you get there, how heartbreaking is it to tell a family you can't have your picture unless you buy it? Like if they ask you to use their phone. Honestly, this just feels like such an excuse. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I agree in the sense that it does feel like an easy way for them to be able to say no to taking pictures with personal devices. But at the same time, think about how many people would want a cast member to take their picture with their cell phone and how disgusting cell phones are.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with that. I just think this was an easy out for them, and I don't see this coming back.
Yeah, I guess at this point it's basically pay for it or have someone take the photo that doesn't get to be in the photo, which, like you said, is really sad. So, rolling this little pity party right along. Disney World has also announced that it will not utilize virtual queues when the parks reopen, including for Rise of the Resistance. And that
Very
single rider queues will also not be utilized. So waiting in socially distanced lines, is that the solution here?
I'm
yeah,
gonna
this is real
guess-
dumb.
I'm gonna guess that that's how it's gonna go. I don't know. I think this is a dumb decision.
I do too. This seems like it should be something very easy for them to implement. Now, obviously, we've seen Disney's track record with creating apps or updating apps. So maybe I can see where they might not want the entire system of like guest experience relying on that. But still, I mean, put some people on this and make it work. This should not be that hard to come up with.
Yeah, I think maybe a one solution could be is since they're not having Fast Pass Plus anymore, they're going to use that line as a separate line that's like the same. So it's like your party goes in, like one party goes in this one and then the next party goes in that one, and they kind of alternate that way so that they have almost twice as much for the attractions that have Fast Pass anyway. There are attractions that don't. So I don't know what the solution is with those.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming a ride that does not already have a fast pass queue is also not going to need it when you've got 30% capacity during this time. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like the virtual queue thing should be very easy for them to implement. And now they're having to make,
Especially because it's already been implemented on several attractions.
it's already been implemented on several attractions. And I mean, I know it's not a fair comparison because it's not nearly the same size, but like this is how Volcano Bay operates. And they've shown that you can do that you can have an entire park. Granted, it's a water park. Granted, it's much smaller than any of the Disney parks, but that this whole virtual queue system can work. So,
Right. But then again, Universal, I feel like, is handling a lot of things better than Disney is right now.
I don't know if we're looking at the social distancing lines. Universal has not been doing so hot with them.
Oh,
they
no?
originally were, but I have seen some pictures where it's been real bad. Let me see.
All
if
I
can
saw
find
was
it.
from when it first opened, so I guess things have declined rapidly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it was like
so-
the first 2 days. Apparently, they were doing good. Like, they were, making sure everybody social distance and whatnot. And then, like, the day after they cleared all of their, like, look at how good we're doing, they were like, now do whatever you want.
but at
Let's
the
see if I can
same
find some
time,
photos.
though, I kind of feel like, I mean, how much staff would you have to have on hand to like really implement that and make sure, like, at the end of the day, it's kind of on the people that are in the line, which sucks because you can't do much about it if you're also in the line and there's not cast members or whatever Universal calls their employees. But I feel like there's only so much you can, like the theme parks and the employees at the theme parks can actually do to maintain the social distancing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Disney's social distancing squad will help out.
Oh, that's right. They have a crack team just for that.
Uh-huh. Sounds like SeaWorld needs their own squad.
Now,
Or not SeaWorld, Universal, but SeaWorld too, probably. Speaking of which, does anybody know what Universal calls their employees? Do they
Isn't
have
it
a name?
Team members.
I think they're just team members.
Okay.
Oh, that's not as cute.
Mm-mm. Does SeaWorld have a cute name for theirs?
I don't think so.
Sea buddies. Ocean pals. I don't know.
I'm gonna keep looking for these pictures because I swear I just recently saw them. If you guys want to discuss some stuff.
So Joshua says, do you guys think it's possible reopening will get delayed given the latest stupid increase in cases? Especially considering Disneyland has postponed theirs, I don't think it's out of the question necessarily, but I think that I would be kind of surprised if they did.
I would be very surprised if they did, and I think it's going to take, as bad as this spike is seeming to be, I think it's going to take a lot more than that for them to decide to close. And I don't, not that they necessarily shouldn't, because I mean, if they decided to back it up again, I'd be completely okay with that. But now that they've gone through and they have this whole new system with the park reservations and all this kind of stuff, I think they feel like they've dumped too much into it now to push it back again. And I think that whatever is going to happen, they're going to open it on July 11th.
Here's my other thing too. I think, I think Florida, we've talked about this before, Florida relies way too much on tourism and tourism money.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's going to be the biggest thing, is that because this is their main like source of income, they're going to stay open as long as they can. I don't think any of these spikes are going to delay Disney from opening. And I think that's very unfortunate. I think that's a kind of a bad look for Disney, but I just, like Brian said, I think they put too much into it to come out on the other side and not open up.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It is a really big shame. And I hate to say that because like, I want to believe that Disney's going to do it right, but I don't know.
I don't believe that they will postpone it. I think that they've already had to reschedule too many people's trips, that having to reschedule even more, they don't want to deal with that inconvenience, even though it would be the responsible thing to do.
Well, so, and the other thing, I've been talking about this too, like, I know people up here that because Florida is open, they're going to Florida. Like,
they sure are.
And that's the thing. Like, I work with a girl now that she was going to Myrtle Beach for a week, like in July. That was her plan, but the rental that they were getting shut down, and like the lady that was, planning on renting to them was like, I don't feel comfortable renting to anybody right now. When I open up, I'm going to give you a call, and if you want to rebook, you can. But like, they didn't want to reschedule.
Myrtle Beach has also become like a hot spot. Like, it's like the highest in South Carolina, if I recall correctly.
So here's the funny thing.
As
like
Joshua said, dirty Myrtle.
But here's the funny thing though. Like, so the lady was like, we could reschedule it, whatever. And instead of them canceling their vacation, her mom was like, why don't we just go to Florida and go to the beach down there? And I was like, are you not watching the news? Are you not looking at how many cases are coming out of Florida? Like, I don't know.
Wasn't today almost 9,000 new cases?
9,000, I think it actually broke it.
While we're on the topic of this, I just refreshed Twitter, and this was the first thing on our podcast timeline.
Wow. Accurate.
But the funny thing is, like, if you go to Florida, you have to quarantine if you're coming back to New Jersey. Like, that's a thing that they're doing. And she really thought she wasn't going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks until our boss told her today. She was like, no, when you come back, like, if you're going to Florida, you can't come to work for 2 weeks.
It's so odd because we had people at my work that had gone to New York and then had to quarantine, and now it's like everything's flip-flopped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Joshua said Florida is where the New York and New Jersey folks ran to like a month and a half ago. There was a 3 to 4 hour line on the interstate to get in.
I believe it.
That's so wild.
So the part of New Jersey that I'm in is close to like the Jersey Shore. I hate to say that. But our beaches opened a couple weeks back, and I definitely am close to the Jersey Shore. Leave me alone. So our beaches opened a couple. He's
friends with Snooki.
No, I am not. Please do not do that.
That's a blast from the past.
Okay, he's right. I am technically from the boonies. But the part of New Jersey.
To think of them having boonies up north.
Oh, I live in the middle of a state forest.
Yeah, but it's like a New
Um,
Jersey state forest. So like, how big can that be?
Pretty big, actually. Uh, but anyway, I'm about 30 minutes from the beach, I guess is the best way to put it.
Don't you live near Atlantic City?
About 30 minutes from Atlantic City, 30 minutes from Ocean City.
Mario,
and
give us your
20
address on the air so we can find where you live.
Funny enough. I'm just kidding. But anyway, we went to the beach a couple weeks ago because we thought like nobody would be there. It was so crowded. We went into Ocean City, turned around and left because there were just so many like Pennsylvania license plates, Connecticut license plates, like New York license plates. They were from all over the place and it's insane.
That's comforting.
Yeah. We drove in and then drove right out and I was like, we are not going to the beach today.
Yeah, I've definitely been seeing a lot around me, and I don't know how many of that is just like our normal snowbirds that actually live down here during the the summer or not, but there's still definitely a lot of tourism.
That blows my mind that people are going to the beach and going on vacations and doing things like nothing is happening, because I get stressed out getting takeout from a restaurant. Like I can't. If I get coronavirus, I'm going to be so mad because I've been one of the most careful people. And all these people get to go out and live their lives like nothing's happening.
I've just accepted that the world is not moving forward at this point because everybody else is too stupid.
What do you mean where I live determines the level of importance, John?
Some places care more. That's very true.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, honestly, South Carolina does not care at all. Like, I know a handful of people in South Carolina that care, but as a whole, the state does not care.
No. So let's move this back to park news because
Yes.
we've steered very far off of this track. So the next thing up that we have is that Disney has canceled Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party for this year, which can I just say now I called this.
Yeah,
It makes sense, but it's still so sad.
Disappointing, but it's the right call.
Yes.
It's one of
I
those
hope
things.
they still put up the decorations, though.
I don't
like
think they will.
Well, there'll be some Halloween decorations, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't think any holiday this year is going to feel like a holiday at Disney. I think
I don't
we'll
feel
get
like any
some.
holiday is going to feel like a holiday, period.
I don't think Disney's
but-
going to feel like Disney at all this year.
I think we'll get a bare minimum of like maybe a couple pumpkin planters or like, I don't know. I think that they'll get like minimal decorations, but if they're not back to at least probably, I would say another 15% capacity, like if they don't move their capacity up anymore, there's no reason because they're already having trouble with the capacity that they're at now. Like booking reservations is already booked out. They don't need to draw people in.
But it's not like they're buying new, decorations each year. It's really just having the people put them out. And it seems like kind of a low cost thing that, I don't know. I feel like Disney is going to be kind of reaching for anything that they can of like normalcy, and something like this that isn't really going to cost them much to do. I feel like they'll want to do, even if it's for a smaller number of people.
Yeah, I agree. Plus,
yeah, I guess
it's just, it also would give like a decent chunk of cast members like a thing to do. And they're probably having trouble putting people in places, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I guess it also. So the other thing that I'm kind of wondering is, I don't know if we have anything or anybody that can speak about this, but I wonder if they've laid off or furloughed any cast members, and if they would be trying to bring them back just because of that. I feel like they would be slow to bring back people off of that, because if they bring them back for a little bit, then they can't, like, it's more difficult to put them back on unemployment.
Yeah. But I know that this part isn't confirmed yet. It hasn't been confirmed that Very Merry has been canceled.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
But the silver lining is that Mickey's Most Merriest Celebration might not happen this year.
There is no world that Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party doesn't happen and the Very Merry Christmas Party does. Like, and if there is, I don't want to live there.
Oh, they said that they're just going to do the Text Me Merry Christmas stage show on repeat all day.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
let's just burn it to the ground.
I was about to say, you won't catch me there in the month of December then.
But with that, I think we should definitely talk about, skip the one that's under this and go to the next one. A lot of the attractions and shows are still going to remain closed through this time, which like we really shouldn't be surprised by either. We do have a list of things that should be closed in Magic Kingdom. We've got Casey Jr. Splash and Soak Station, Enchanted Tales with Belle, Frontier Shoot and Arcade, Main Street Vehicles, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, and Stitch's Great Escape, which all of those things make sense. There's a lot of touching involved.
I don't even understand why they still put Stitch's Great Escape on a list ever.
I was about to say, like, I thought that died.
When is the last time that was in operation?
I mean, didn't they gut the Stitch animatronics recently?
Right.
But then in Animal Kingdom, we have Affection Section, Boneyard, Primeval Whirl, which, thank God, Finding Nemo the Musical, Up a Great Bird Adventure, and Festival of the Lion King. Again, I don't like, none of these really surprise me. We got. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I kind of get Finding Nemo the Musical. I feel like they could have just done like spread out seating, but you also are having to, have all the actors actually up there performing. So that's kind of understandable.
And money to pay those actors.
Right.
The Epcot list is also incredibly weird because, like, okay, Advanced Training Lab makes sense. Bruce's Shark World makes sense. Turtle Talk with Crush makes sense. But Beauty and the Beast Sing Along.
That arena, like, auditorium is huge.
But here's the thing.
But again, paying actors.
Beauty and the Beast Sing Along, though, that's the one that replaced Impressions de France, which is not on this list.
What? I got messed up, and I thought we.
Well, you were jumping down to the next one.
Studios to Beauty and the Beast live on stage.
But here's the thing: none of the other Circle Visions are on there. So are they trying to get rid of Beauty and the Beast Sing Along already?
Ooh, that's actually a good point. Like, the only thing that I can think is that
nobody goes to those.
But also that is the only one where you're seated, and I'm wondering if they're thinking that if you're standing you can spread out and you're also not like touching a seat the whole time. I don't know.
It's less for them to clean too after a show. I get that.
But also, yes,
here's the
other
thing,
ones aren't very popular.
But here's the thing, though. So Beauty and the Beast Sing Along is on here, but Impressions de France still runs. So that's not listed, which is why I'm like, are they going to show that in the theater? Is it just that theater? Because if they do, I'm going to get a good chuckle out of that one.
I think they just didn't put both of them down because there's no way that you still show Impressions de France and not the new show that's in there.
So last one we have is Hollywood Studios, which is Star Wars Launch Bay, Indiana Jones Stunt Show, Voyage of the Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast live on stage, and Frozen Sing Along, which again, all of these
nothing
interactive.
Shocking there.
Yeah, like nothing should be shocking. And then we move back to the one that we skipped, sorry. Because everybody in our chat was yelling at me for that one. It's confirmed the Spaceship Earth refurbishment will be delayed, which also should not be surprising. A lot of this news isn't very surprising, I think.
They ought to be glad they hadn't started it yet. Like
that's
I know
true.
it was set to close on May 26th, so there's no reason for them to have started it because the parks have been closed since March 16th or something. But yeah, it's an extra thing to fit bodies into, plus an extra offering.
I also feel like this one is, it's a ride where you can very easily space people out and have them clean in between.
Hockety Pockety says that blanket they use for Hollywood Studios Beauty and the Beast live on stage probably hasn't been washed since that show opened, so it's probably already infected with COVID.
Well, it's all the magic that's in it. They can't wash it out.
I mean, how else are they going to turn him into a prince?
But in the most surprising news story that I think we have on here is that Food and Wine will return as Taste of Epcot International Food and Wine Festival, which is going to have Flower and Garden sprinkled in. Basically, it's going to be a hybrid of the two. I'm very, very surprised on this.
Same here.
I think I like the play on words as being a taste of Epcot International Food and Wine Festival, but it's also kind of sad because a taste implies that you're not getting satisfied by it.
So are the Baja Men going to be there? Have we confirmed that or not?
I don't think they're doing Eat to the Beat.
Oh, all Eat to the Beat performances have been canceled.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Now we'll never know who let the dogs out.
I guess you'll just have to wait till next year when they perform again. But it looks like most of what's going to happen are just the food kiosks and then the topiaries. Like, is this not Flower and Garden?
They should have called it Flower and Garden Continued.
Or they could have just called it Flower and Wine.
That would have been cute. But they didn't. I feel like they didn't want to make it seem like a hybrid, even though it totally is.
It really is, and that's the funny thing that like I can't get past is like it's got the flower, like the topiary part of Flower and Garden, but then we've even talked about this before that like Flower and Garden is kind of expanding into Food and Wine Junior because they still have the kiosks. I don't know.
So yeah, this is
plus
just
they're not going to have
trying.
any. They're not going to have any of the things that the people out and about with their, I don't know, kiosks probably that sell stuff. You know what I mean? They have the garden, like people with art and plants and stuff that sell.
Yeah.
So it's really just, it's Epcot in a pretty dress. Like
I've gotten a pretty dress. That's pretty much it. Oh, but they are bringing the Remy's Ratatouille Hide and Squeak Scavenger Hunt.
Oh, back. Thank God. I was worried about that.
I love this. I love this Disney food blog article. The festival is scheduled to be Epcot's longest festival ever, continuing through the fall. Like
Food blog is just excited that they're going to have stuff to write about.
I feel like they've already been so much like off of
grasping.
Stuff. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
They're like, oh, look at this new lollipop we found at World of Disney.
Somebody dropped this on the ground. We're going to report on it.
Oh, it's awful.
Oh, man. Yeah, everybody pray for the Disney bloggers. They've been going through a hard time lately.
So let's talk about
our
the big
final news article.
Let's just say everybody tagged our podcast in this on every social media I saw, specifically saying, Beth, did you see this?
Yeah, I woke up to like 3 text messages about it.
So for those that are not online often, Splash Mountain is going to be rethemed to Princess and the Frog. Looks like it's going to take place after the movie, so we pick up right at the final kiss to join Princess Tiana and Louis on a musical adventure featuring some powerful music from the film as they prepare for their first ever Mardi Gras performance. I am really excited about this in a weird way.
I'm here for it. It's like I told you guys. It's like obviously everyone knows that Splash Mountain is based on a problematic film, but I haven't seen Splash Mountain. But to me, the attraction itself never came off as reflecting the problematic parts of the film. And I do love Splash Mountain. I love the characters and the songs and the storyline and the animatronics. And it's sad to see such a classic attraction go away because it's been around for so long. But The Princess and the Frog is way overdue for more representation in the parks. And it is obviously, as everyone here knows, I'm sure, my favorite Disney film. Very underrated. And I am super excited to see what they have in store. I just hope that they whole ass it. I hope they don't half ass it.
Yeah. And the only thing that I'm worried about is that they're saying that this is going to take place like after the movie, which makes it feel like they're going to kind of do what Frozen Ever After did. And it like, I don't know. I feel like it was kind of just like, here's the characters. Oh, here's the characters, here's the characters, doing something. And it's like, I would rather them kind of like take and do the storyline because I think that's a like very easy thing for them to do. I would rather see that.
Yeah. I kind of have a weird, I don't know, thing with that. And this article made me realize what it is. Everywhere that I've seen that they're talking about how they're using the music from the film, which is what really worries me about that, because if it takes place after the movie, why do we need the music from the film? Even though it's great. I love that movie. I love the music from that movie. And I think that it's going to tie it more to the movie. That's what worries me, is that it's going to like hit the same notes that Frozen Ever After does, where it's here's Anna and Elsa after the movie, but we're still going to do the scenes from the movie that you know and love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm, as you like to say, Mario, cautiously optimistic because I like the idea of it being an expansion on the story, because I think we talked about this in our private chat. It doesn't make them forced to shove movie scenes in, and they can have a little bit more creative freedom to add what would come next rather than trying to find a way to fit this scene in here and this scene in here. So that gives me a little bit of hope that they'll do it justice.
I will say too, also, Frozen Ever After had a very small footprint to work in, and Splash Mountain is, on the other hand, one of the longest,
very large
Disney World. Yeah. So they've got the space. I really hope they do this correctly.
I think they will. I think having the extra footprint is going to be key for this. I think that the reason that, for me at least, Frozen Ever After feels very rushed is because it is like you have all of those scenes crammed into, how long is that ride? It's probably like less than 3 minutes.
Probably. It's very short. But the one thing about this is, who they brought onto this team? Tony Baxter. Yeah. So that's always.
So it's also important to note that he is not leading this, because I've seen a lot of that going around. He is on the team, but he is not the one in charge of this project.
True, but I also think him being there is going to be a big deal, because
they don't bring him in for just anything.
Right, and what like who's going to step in like when Tony Baxter's like, "Hey, I think we should do this," and be like, "Shut up, Tony." Like I feel like people are really going to listen to him, and he's going to make sure that it is done well. That's my view of this.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Hockey Pockety also makes a good point that this ride is so beloved that is probably going to give them extra pressure to do it justice.
That's true.
So, lots of good, hopeful things to say about it. We'll keep our fingers crossed. But do you know what else is exciting about this? Does that mean that the Briar Patch is going to turn into a Princess and the Frog merchandise store?
Ooh, maybe. I always felt like
I'm excited about that, if that's so.
So, yeah, that kind of spins off. Sorry, not to cut you off, but that kind of spins me off into the question that I do want to ask about. Like, I've seen a lot of people say that this fits really well in Disneyland because they can kind of turn like this sits on the edge of New Orleans Square. I haven't been there, so I don't know. Is that correct for people that have been there?
I did not ride it while I was there.
I feel like if I'm wrong, John's gonna call me out in the chat. So,
It's probably just gonna say you're wrong anyways.
probably. But I'm wondering what that means for Frontierland. Like, I don't necessarily think Princess and the Frog fits there, but I also don't think Disney cares much about the general theming of lands anymore.
I mean, I don't know. I have seen a lot of people online complaining about that, and I think you're like kind of splitting hairs if you're gonna get that bothered by it.
No, and I also want to say I'm not bothered by it. I think the problem is the concept art looks less architecturally similar to the surrounding area of Frontierland, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, because John specifically is saying it didn't fit in there. I don't think it did, but like that building design in the concept art, it looks a lot more green than the rest of Frontierland. Does this mean we're going to see a Frontierland refresh soon? Because I kind of hope so.
I was about to say, I would be okay with it that area getting updated.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I kind of like hope from this. I think a lot of people would be upset about Big Thunder being any sort of refresh, but I don't know.
Well, there's something very specific that I would be upset about getting changed.
Well, yeah, but
I feel like it's a matter of time, Brian.
Oh, don't even.
I don't want it to go either, but
I don't know. I mean, I don't think changing Splash Mountain is going to require everything else to be changed. I mean, I don't know. I also think just looking at this concept art, I mean, I think everything looks kind of like brighter and more fantastical in the concept art anyway. So maybe they'll end up making it blend in and there won't need to be a change.
So that's kind of what kickstarted me on this question was like, I love this concept art. Like, looking at it is just like, first of all, it makes me think of the Tree of Life, which whatever, but I really hope that boat stays in there. I really hope that they keep the lush greenery around it. I think that this design to the attraction, one, would blend it in a little bit more because like if you look at this concept art, you don't even really see the drop. Like it's matched in there pretty well. Obviously, that's going to be something they can't really hide, but I don't know. I think I would actually like to spend time just looking at this attraction if this is what it looks like.
Yeah, concept art does look very good.
And again, this is concept art, and how many times does it actually look like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Fingers crossed, though. I like the concept art a lot.
So way too early predictions. When do y'all think this actually opens?
2024.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, at the earliest.
Yeah.
I just think it's really interesting. Like, another thing that I wanted to point out in the article is that it says that this has been in the works for over a year, and I'm calling BS on that hardcore. Somebody that I was talking to said it's like maybe somebody had that idea a year ago, just like one person, and they brought it up and got shot down, and that's what they're calling it. Like, oh, it's been in the works for over a year because one person brought it up one time. But it does make it sound like they've put together a team either really quickly or I don't know. It just seems like really good timing.
I have this
agree.
theory. I have this theory, and I would not be surprised if this is the case. I feel like Disney has a lot of these overlays, designs, whatever, as back pocket ideas. So kind of like you were saying, maybe someone pitched this at a board meeting a few years ago, and then they were shot down or whatever. But I feel like this idea was kind of like put in this file for them to use if they ever needed it, you know? And I'm sure that there are probably a million of these things out there. But then obviously we talked about this pre-show last 2 weeks ago. And there was that petition that went around where people were like, you need to retheme Splash Mountain. And it's just it's just too coincidental, I think.
Right. And honestly, especially after I feel like we had a pretty underwhelming D23 last year, why not have something like this to announce? You know, like this could have been a pretty big thing to say, and there was no mention of it.
I mean, I also think that we're in that kind of like gap year for D23. Like, I don't know. I think it's going to be weird to drop this news now and not hold it for D23, but I also feel like with the little news that we got at the last D23, we needed something. I don't know. Also, there's a comment on this article, the first one, it says, "Are you kidding?" And Mike from Blogmakey just replied, "No." I don't know why that's so funny to me. I
have
know.
a question. So everybody saying Country Bears is next, right? That's like been a lot of hullabaloo going around. Am I not super familiar with Country Bears enough to see how racist it is?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any issue with it, but
the only thing I see is them portraying like Southern stereotypes. Maybe negatively.
I'm okay with.
Which, yeah, I'm Southern and I'm fine with it. But if there's racial undertones, I have not ever caught on to it. Liver lips.
I mean,
okay. I'll have to dig more into it, but
I think we'll have to dig on that one before I say anything, because I don't know that there's
Wow, Al, those are fighting words. Country Bears is next just because it sucks and we deserve better.
How dare you? Who is liking these? This is ridiculous.
So back to Princess and the Frog, because I have another question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We all know my stance on animatronics right now and how Disney is doing them. How do you think we're going to get these Tiana and Lewis animatronics? What do you think they're going to be most similar to?
Frozen Ever After.
Yep. That's exactly how I feel. Everyone keeps saying, oh, they have to do it the same way they're doing that Belle animatronic. And I was like, there is no world that we will see Tiana look like that.
Absolutely not. It's going to be exactly like this. They're going to do projection face mapping onto an animatronic for sure.
I think we'll get a good Lewis animatronic.
I do. I think so.
I think it would be hard to do much projection mapping with Lewis other than the eyes.
I think
maybe
this is going to be horrible. I think the best animatronic in this attraction is going to be Ray.
Oh man, that's actually interesting.
Wait, but it takes place after he dies.
Oh, but you know they're going to have a flashback because they're going to do it the same way they did Frozen Ever After.
You know, I'm not buying this. If it's this early in the thing and like the whole development of this, that they're not, this might have just been something that somebody said. I don't see how they're going to incorporate all the characters and all the songs if this takes place after the movie.
Yeah,
Al said, spoilers, Beth. Jeez. The movie came out in 2009. Come on.
Oh, that does not help. That makes me feel really old.
Man, it does seem fairly recently that it came out.
Although if you haven't seen it, and I did just spoil it for you, I do apologize. It'll still hit you really hard, trust me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
it'll be interesting as more details come out about this.
Since we're in speculation mode, anything else that you guys think will make it into this attraction? Like either song, scenes, anything specific?
Dr. Facilier is going to try to do something right as the drop happens.
Yeah, that's a big prediction.
But he's already dead after the kiss too.
And again, that's why I'm thinking they're not going to go with this. How can you have this ride and him not be in it at all? That's just not. They're like, what's going to be driving the plot of the ride? I think he's going to have to be.
He'll come back from the
driving plot of this from this article is that they're getting ready for the first Mardi Gras celebration, which is like that feels almost very Frozen Ever After to me in
Yeah, I
itself.
don't like that. Which, so I mean, I get the setup, and then obviously like the zippity doo dah scene would be Mardi Gras then, and
Ooh,
On
here's
the
a
river,
question.
they could keep the riverboat.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is like odds of them keeping of the riverboat. What are we at? I think.
I mean,
there's
it'd be
no way
pretty
they
dumb
don't.
for them to get rid of it. It fits right in.
can they just everything else change, but then them still do zippity doo dah at the end? Just like don't touch the final scene.
Aw.
My take on this, I think this is, and I said this in the group chat, I think this is Disney's final like sever from Song of the South, because if they
They're
say
so stoked to get rid of their only ties to it.
well, and that's exactly it. So if they go, they go into this and people come off this ride, it's no longer, well, what movie is that from? It's, oh, that was Princess and the Frog. Like I think there are certain things like the Haunted Mansion where you say like, oh, what movie is that from? And then you look it up and you realize there was a movie with Eddie Murphy in it. You're not like, oh, okay. But you see cute cartoon animals, you're going to try to go out of your way to find that movie.
Yeah.
I think this is just the final nail.
I do want to point out that there hasn't been any news of it changing. There is a Splash Mountain in Tokyo Disneyland, and that was not mentioned as one that's changing. So,
It is interesting.
Well, the question is, how similar is it? Is it the
I don't
same
think
attraction?
it matters. I mean, the whole fact is that like the attraction itself wasn't really what people had the issue with. It was Song of the South. So whether or not,
right.
I feel like it'd be weird for them to leave it there when they're changing it in Disney World.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the riverboat. Here's my theory. I think they're going to repaint the riverboat, and I think they're going to skin some of the animatronics, and they're going to turn them into characters from the movie, or just like random alligators and stuff. I'm sure that these animatronics have not seen their end.
Yeah, Disney likes to repurpose them.
Any other predictions for this attraction? Because I love speculating about new rides.
Somebody said that they hope that the voice actors come back to record new dialogue. And I really hope that as well. I think it would be shocking if that didn't happen.
Well,
It's kind of
Tiana's voice actress has already commented on it.
She did.
Yeah.
But she didn't confirm her being in the project. She just confirmed how excited she was about it.
Yeah.
Right?
I just shared her quote, and it's really exciting to know Princess Tiana's presence in both Disneyland and Magic Kingdom will finally be fully realized. As passionate as I am about what we created, I know the fans are going to be over the moon. The Imagineers are giving us the Princess and the Frog Mardi Gras celebration we've been waiting for, and I'm here for it. That's all she said about it so far, which, like, whatever, it only just kind of came out, but still. I think that there is no world that we don't get a revival from the cast. I think that they're too iconic with their voices.
Yeah. Plus, they're probably past that point in Disney Animation where they started writing stuff like that into the contract. Like, if we do an attraction, you're legally obligated to come back and voice for it. But I'm sure they would anyway. Who wouldn't want to be involved in this project?
Yeah. The only thing, so Al made the comment in our chat that said that almost makes it seem like it has been in the works. The only thing that has made me feel like it may have actually been is how many people were like, when Disney Parks blog posted this news, how many people already had statements prepared for it. Like, a lot of people were talking about it right away.
True.
I don't know. I don't think it's been in the pipeline for a year, but
yeah.
Anyway, any final thoughts? Any closing remarks you guys want to talk about before we wrap this week up?
I would have
normal.
What
Yeah.
was that?
I just want the parks to be back to normal.
Yeah.
I totally agree. The only thing I was gonna say was about Splash Mountain was, would I have preferred Tiana and Friends to get an original attraction that wasn't a reskinned Splash Mountain? Yes, but this is a perfect way to get her in there. As, I don't know, underrated as she is, this may have been the only way for her to get an attraction. So I'm gonna support the project and be excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am also ready for things to get back to normal, desperately ready for things to get back to normal.